I just realized DJ Space Cat didn't make his appearance today. He's got the night off. Whatever. Hey, if you're into videos of the strange and unusual and supernatural and slightly scary, told in story format, you're in the wrong channel. You should go check out Mr. Ballin. His stuff is awesome, and that's what he does. He's uploading 2 videos a week now. So I'll add it. I'll add for him. We'll see if he pays attention. All right, that's his thing. Mr. Ballin. Go check out his channel. It's seriously awesome. Our sponsor tonight is Pepsi Cola Soda Shop Black Cherry Cola. It is the greatest thing ever. They're not actually our sponsor. I don't get any money for it, and I don't represent them. But go check it out. It's friggin' delicious. That's 7 cavities per can. So totally worth it. Tonight, we are going to talk to my buddy Cheeto Lord, whose real name, actually, I don't think I know. But he goes by Cheeto, so that's fine with me. My daughter thought that was amazing that I got to talk to a person named Cheeto. She thought I was lying to her, because that's her favorite snack. So Cheeto's going to talk to us primarily about his Atta Mexicana colony. Mexicana, I don't really know how to say it, but they are leafcutter ants and they're good sized. So we have a camera set up on them too. So let me bring Cheeto in, and then we'll bring in the ants, the stars of the actual show. Cheeto, welcome back.
Howdy. My real name's Tyler, by the way, if anyone cares. But
it's Tyler. It's Tyler. I remember Anthony because I had to make sure he was called Anthony.
Yeah, you can't pass up an opportunity like that, can you?
You can't. He knows more about ants. Like, I got to go on a trip with him and Nolan, and it was crazy to see them identify stuff from like fully standing up. Like, oh, that's this. Oh, that's this. And then once in a while, Anthony would get down on the ground and be like, oh, no, wait, it's this. And he'd have a different, like the first part of the name was there. Like, he'd be like, oh, no, this is, I don't even know. I can't even like just throw them off. Like, this is Campanatus, whatever. And then he'd pick it up and be like, oh, no, it's Campanatus this. And you're like, dude, as far as I know, you had it the first time. Like, don't mess around. So welcome back. Welcome back. You can kind of see your colony.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, I was gonna say you're getting a little sneak peek, but we got the better camera coming.
You can see. I'm gonna point at it. Not that you can see where I'm pointing. Yeah, it's off camera. So that vine, that jungle vine, which PetSmart doesn't sell, I went to look for it today. They don't have it anymore.
I had that issue too. When I was trying to get it, I went to my local PetSmart like twice, and they didn't have it.
There's not even a spot for it. Like, there's not even an empty hook that it's supposed to be on. It was totally.
Yeah, I don't know. Which, like, it's a great product. Come on, PetSmart. Like, what are you doing?
God, and the girl
I had to get it on Amazon, so
yeah,
I had to wait 2 days for it to get shipped to my house. It's like,
son
come on.
of a bitch. But yeah, you can see, I asked Cheeto to feed tonight, so you can see them pulling leaves right now. We're going to bring them on. Here, there are these beautiful girls. There they are. Cheeto, I'm just going to put myself on top because it's my show.
Go for it.
All right.
I do
it's
not
my
mind.
show, jerk.
I mean, I'm already taking up like 2/3 of the cameras here, so go for it.
We'll take it. We'll take it. With the actual, we hardly ever have live animals on the show for real, so this is a real treat. So you guys can watch them harvest while we chat about ants. So now, I know Atta are super coveted, and God, do I want one, but I don't want to risk the commotion that goes with like illegally importing ants to another state.
Yeah, and
not yet anyway.
At our kind of an interesting one too, because the whole laws with that and everything is done by the USDA,
right?
Which Department of Agriculture, and these guys are, I mean, they eat plants. That's their whole thing. So like so I'm very lucky to have Mexicana because the US basically has 2 Atta species, Mexicana and Texana. Okay. And as you can imagine, Texana are in Texas and Louisiana, but they're fairly common there, especially once you get into like the southern half of eastern Texas. Like they're pretty abundant, and especially like I know citrus farmers hate them because a mature Atta Texana colony will strip a citrus tree bare of its leaves in a day. Like,
oh my god! And then
so they're a
done.
huge agricultural pest there. So the USDA hates Atta. They hate them. Like,
I saw a documentary. Did you see the one where I think David Attenborough was involved in it, but they dug out this huge leafcutter ant
yeah, and
colony,
then they
and
brought
they
it
built
back
this
to
huge crazy thing for it. Did you see that?
Yeah, and they I think it was Atta cephalotes that they did, which is smart because that's the best Atta species in my opinion.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like some big British lab got like funding to go to whatever Central South American country and just dig up a mature Atta cephalotes colony and
I mean, they
import
were
it back.
digging, and they were like, "Oh, we got the queen," and it was like kilograms.
You couldn't even see her.
Yeah, they were going.
You couldn't
all
even
this
see the
stuff.
queen too. They had pulled out a ball of worker, like it was literally just a mass of workers, and they're like, "It's the queen."
I need to watch it again now that I know something about ants. But I liked it because they took like microphones in there and they did like some slow stuff.
That was some really interesting study, like where they put like radios on the soldiers to track where they were in the nest, and they were able to find out which chamber the queen was in because it was the one that was most frequented by the soldiers.
That's crazy because their soldiers will
crazy.
jack you up. The soldiers of that species.
They'll break skin. I wonder if you can even. No, you can't. Well, you probably wouldn't even show up on the camera anyway. But they literally just broke skin on my finger like the other day.
Do your Atta do it? We had a question from my buddy Wally, so
I see that.
Yeah.
So the way that the laws work with ants is it's pretty much a blanket ban, which at the least makes it easy to understand, is that transporting ants across state lines is illegal. That's the big illegal thing. So you can keep, they don't care if you keep them. They don't care, if you ship them within your own state. It's just bringing them to a different state than they were collected in, you'll need a permit for. Which is a little annoying at sometimes, especially if it's a species that's native to multiple states. The nice thing is that if you're getting a permit for a species that's native to your state, it's a lot easier to get that approved.
There are a few exceptions. I own one of them, but I got it locally. So
yeah, there is one exception.
No, there's like four now.
There's a few things. There's one global exception. You don't need a permit for it whatsoever. And that's Pogonomyrmex occidentalis, the western harvester ant, which I will withhold my personal opinions on because personally I think it was not. If you were to ask me to deregulate one species, it wouldn't have been them. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that one, no permits required. You can bring them anywhere in the country except I think Florida and California.
No, I think it's Hawaii, obviously.
I mean the continental, so you can't bring them to Alaska, Hawaii, and then I think you still need permits for Florida and California, but I might be wrong. But other than that, you can transport them wherever. And then the other things is that there are multiple shops now, like, people who sell either Formicaria, or there's recent shops that have popped up that just sell ants, where the seller actually has a permit to ship those ants to like a certain number of states. And so if you're in one of those states, then they have the permit to ship it to you.
I put up tarheelants.com. So they got
Tar Heel Ants is I think he was the first. He's got permits for a couple of species that he can send to. I think it's mostly eastern species, eastern US, because he lives in North Carolina, so he catches those. And then he also sells the Pogonomyrmex occidentalis that you can get, I said, pretty much anywhere.
That's going to be my next. I think that's going to be my next. I have an idea. For a setup for them that's going to be on the back of the vivarium that I'm making. But now you told me that they're real assholes, so I don't want to use them to do that because I don't want them to damage any of the other animals that I have.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them, especially because with pogos, their main natural predator are horny toads, horned lizards.
Okay.
So they have their venom is meant to defend themselves against vertebrates because that's their main threat. Yeah. So their venom would kill my vertebrates. Their venom is actually more potent towards vertebrates than it is towards invertebrates, which is interesting. You wouldn't think an ant, you'd think that they would want to defend themselves against other ants and whatnot, but not necessarily. Anyways, Atta.
Atta, yeah, sorry. We're going to do a lot of tangents. Like I said, it's a new format, so we're going to keep going on tangents. Mostly from the questions of our peeps. So, Atta, as you can see, he just put these plants in like right before the show, right before we started to go live, and they are tearing it up. So we're going to see by the end of the show how much. You can see in the bottom right, there's just chunks out of that leaf.
Yeah, you can tell this one has already gotten cut up right there. You can see the
see the other
semicircles
right.
that they
I guess
make.
it's your left. But they made like a major chomp out of that leaf. But yeah, I can't believe the pieces because I have the small ones and they carry like the tiniest little bits. But these guys are so fascinating. So in the background, you have those two clear tubs that are standing up. Excuse me. One is wide and then one is really tall. That's their fungus in there, right? That's just fungus.
That's insane. Like this dark wall back here that you're seeing is all their fungus that they grow. And that's why they harvest the leaves. For those in the audience who don't know, they don't actually eat the leaves. That's a common misconception about leafcutter ants is they don't eat the leaves. They are gardeners, basically. So they cut up these leaves and then they bring them to their fungus that they grow and they eat the fungus, which is pretty cool. They do kind of eat the leaves. They will, when they cut them, they'll actually drink any sap or any, juices that are in the leaves, but they don't actually eat the leaf itself. They wait for the fungus to digest it and then they eat the fungus.
That's awesome. It's so cool. It's so interesting. And the more I read about it, the more species there are that are fungus ants. Like there's different like branches.
There's like a ridiculous number of fungus growers,
which is kind of cool. Like ants, we'll talk more about it later, I think. But ants fill all the little niches. Like they're so diverse and crazy in the niches that they fill. So these guys, you said in particular, are pretty illegal to ship because they can just devastate croplands if they get out of control.
That's at least my my presumption, I should say. Like I haven't really talked to the USDA or anything about it, but like I know that they hate Atta, so I think that it's the Atta and then like Solenopsis invicta, the red imported fire ant, that will really get you like really screwed if you're shipping those around illegally.
I feel like if you're keeping those, you're in it for the challenge or you're an asshole. Like there's two qualities of people.
Yeah, I think Atta, there's a few ways to keep Atta. You can do what I did, which is kind of dumb and try to grow them like as crazy as possible. My original goal was 50,000 workers with them. Now it's impossible to estimate that much, but you roughly estimate, and I'd say that I'm probably around double that. Like there's no way that these guys have less than 100,000 workers at this point.
I'm just going to use the Ants Canada style of estimating. Just what I'm seeing here, that's 3.2 million ants. So
yeah, right. My fire ants have 5 million workers, even though this species can only get 400,000.
right. I love him. He got me started in the hobby for sure. I love his setups. I love what he does.
He does great and terrible things.
He's brought more people into the hobby than any single person on the planet. But hopefully they don't just take him as gospel. But we won't rag on
most
Mikey
people. Yeah, he's definitely the gateway drug into ant keeping.
And people love him or hate him, and I think everyone starts out loving him. So.
I did too. We don't talk about that.
Yeah. So. Anyway, I want to see his facility when he finishes it, because I'm still a super fan of the show, even though his voice is very much like a high-pitched George Takei. So these tubs in the back, you have them connected by tubes. There's holes drilled in the sides, and they're connected by tubes. I see them coming out of, so the vine goes into one, and then you obviously have an ant barrier. Do you use Fluon or just like?
I do use Fluon.
Okay.
I have my quarrels with Fluon. On most of my setups, it works great, but I don't know if it's just that it doesn't stand up to like long-term degradation or what. But maximum 3 days lasts with the Atta. Like I have to constantly patch up holes in their barrier. And it's not like the whole thing. It's usually a corner that they will just brute force their way over and I have to patch it up.
Okay.
Needless to say, though, that is a lot of fun when I go anting for 2 days and I come back and they have breached their barrier and there is Atta all over my room.
So now do you just get them back with like a dust buster or what?
This has happened the last 4 times that I've gone out anting. I have come home. Well, I've either gotten a text from my dad saying your leaf cutters are everywhere, or I've gotten home and found my leaf cutters everywhere.
So they invade your house basically because you said you found a colony that was 300 feet. Like their trails were 300 feet, or was that not Atta?
That was not Atta, but Atta are even crazier than that. Like so I was talking to. So I guess I should explain how I have these in the first place. Because I was saying that you mostly get Atta Texana, and these are not Texana.
Right.
I don't know how to use Fluent, by the way. Kind of true.
I don't know who Mantises is.
It's not exactly. I posted, but I hope you don't mind. I posted this on some of my Discord servers for people.
No, that's awesome. Bring more.
I figured you wouldn't care.
Yeah. As long as they all like and subscribe.
He's not entirely wrong. I do. You know, you can see this part of the barrier is pristine right here. I've never had an issue with this part.
Okay.
On that far wall, but when they get over it, there's only so much you can do. You don't have a lot of working time to make sure that you're getting it just perfect on there. So, you know, you have to, you know, I usually get like an old napkin or something, wet it and wipe down the old barrier because you can't just throw it on top of the old crap. That just doesn't work. So you have to wipe it down and then you have to get a new cotton ball and put it on there. Meanwhile, there's thousands of Atta workers trying to get out, especially now that you've just removed the barrier that was partially working.
Oh my god!
So it's not easy to replace it, which is partially why it's so bad.
I wonder if I could invent a thing for Atta keepers that has like it's about this long, and on the one side it has a sponge where you wipe the stuff off, and the other side is a reapplicator. We just kind of around the thing.
That would be amazing. But what I really need to do, and it's my fault that they escape all the time because these outworlds are not the best. When you have a big colony and you don't have a lid or, you know, some other way to keep them contained, you really want a lip. So, you know,
underside lip,
yeah. So you can put the barrier upside down, and these containers just don't work for that. I might try to either make some or get some that work on these.
Could you take the lids from these? Do you still have the lids, the original lids?
The issue is the lids aren't airtight. They've got like a gap.
Well, I'm thinking you could silicone, because I have a silicone gap for my
might be able
spiders.
to, yeah. I'd have to see if I still have that. I'm pretty sure I do.
Because you're going to leave it on anyway.
Yeah, I need to do that at some point, but I haven't, so they're still a pain. But the way that I got these is that within Arizona, Atta Mexicana only exist within, you know, I think it's within 5 or 10 miles of the Mexican border. Like they are barely in Arizona. You have to go all the way down there to find these guys.
Trump's wall is really working then. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's thankfully it's more of a fence, so I think the elates can still fly between it. You know, the Great Wall thing is a little bit of a fabrication. It's a fence. It's a big metal fence.
I love watching videos of people getting over it or just cutting a hole in it and then like whatever. So
I mean, I've been there. It's you know, it's large. I've seen it in a couple places.
I believe you. That's the first time I got political on the show, I think. But
I mean, it's definitely nice, you know, when you're within a couple feet of the border. Especially these guys fly at 4 a.m. So you have to go to the Mexican border at 4 o'clock in the morning if you want to catch them. So having a big ass metal fence is kind of it's a nice peace of mind.
Yeah,
I guess it's not all bad. It's not all bad. It's not my favorite thing, but you know.
Have you been stopped by Border Patrol?
I have many times.
Yes.
So they have. Well, you get stopped kind of every time because along the roads when you're coming back from the border, on basically every road they've got like a checkpoint. So you'll have to drive through a checkpoint anyway. But I have gotten stopped once. I wasn't even that close to the border once, and I was looking for ants along the side of the road. I just had a flashlight. It was last September, so it was a little over a year ago. And I was just walking down the side of the road with a flashlight looking for bugs, and a border patrol guy, stopped, and he was like, "Are you okay?" I think he realized that I was white as they get, like, as soon as he stopped.
Yeah.
And he was like, "This guy's probably legit." But he was like, "Are you fine?" I was with a friend too, so he's like, "Are you guys all right?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're fine. We're just looking for bugs." And he's like, "Oh, good night to do it," and then just left.
Like,
because it had just rained too, so.
Like, he knows. Like, he's just like, oh yeah.
He's honestly, I would not be surprised if we're not the first bug nerds that he's run into.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because Arizona's a big state for it too.
I got stopped by my neighborhood watch going around when I heard there were flights of just local ants, and I got stopped by neighborhood watch because I had my phone light was going. I had a flashlight looking around people's bushes. It was insane. I was like, oh no.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I've got a bag full of test tubes. It's ridiculous. So these guys, now you're saying this is a hard setup, but I love it. Like, yeah, there's other things you could do to like troubleshoot it, but just the visual of it.
I think that my main issue with it is that I wasn't very well prepared for not only how fast they were going to grow, but how like persistent they were going to be at escaping, because I kind of just threw crap together. Like, I started them in this net. Well, I started them in a nest smaller than this, and then I moved them into this one. But then from there, I've just been adding crap. So I added, this one, and then I added this tube goes down, and there's 3 chambers under their foraging outworld.
I was going to ask you where that tube goes.
So this is a quarter of their nests, by the way.
Unreal.
So they have 8 total chambers. There are. I can probably take the Atacam, actually.
Okay. I love that it's the Atacam.
So we've got.
Oh, that's weird. You're in 3D. That's weird.
Up there.
Oh God.
So up here we have more chambers, and there's a massive tube that comes down. Ignore my dirty desk, but it comes down across. It's really bad, but it comes like here. On the edge of my desk. That tube is full of Atta, and then it comes to their setups down here underneath their foraging outworld.
Unreal.
And those are pretty much full. Can't really see it because there's no light there, but yeah. So they have 8 total chambers. That's just 2 of them over there.
Such a cool setup.
And
seriously, I'm jealous.
And so their setup that's up here on my wall. From the furthest point of this setup to the end of the vine here is 17 feet. So they have to feed the fungus that's up here, they have to bring plants 17 feet up this rope, down this tubing, and then across my whole desk up there. And that seems like a lot. It really does. 17 feet when you're like 5 centimeters or 5 millimeters long is that's a far distance. But these guys are like the most insane ants, like, in the entire U.S. So at Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument is the sort of area of Arizona where they're native to. So big old preserve right on the border. Gets its name from the organ pipe cacti. They're like these really cool. They grow in like shoots and they look like organ pipes, I guess is where they got their name from.
Okay.
But it's a really nice place. I love going there. Mostly for the Atta, of course. But
come for the cactus, stay for the Atta.
I mean, when you're driving down to the Atta spots, the cactus look nice. But there's a guy, I suppose a myrmecologist, entomologist, whatever, named Alex Mincer, who does a study there every 10 years. So what he does is over the winter, it's between the 5 and 6 year. He goes in like December over the new year. So like the last one was 2015 to 16 over that time period. And what he does is he takes a group of surveyors / researchers and just looks at all the Atta. He scans the entire preserve, the entire national monument, and just documents all the Atta colonies.
Like all the nest sites.
Every single Atta colony he checks off. And what he does is he's trying to find, the total number of Atta colonies, where they all are, how old they are, because, if all of a sudden a colony showed up that wasn't at his last survey, then he knows it's a newer colony.
Okay.
But if they, were there before and are still alive, or if they were there before and are now dead,
Okay.
he knows. So it's like
That's
a huge
awesome.
survey, and it's awesome because like we know almost perfectly how many Atta Mexicana colonies are in the US. It's like crazy.
That's impressive.
And of course, I got invited to participate in his next survey in 2025-26, which I'm very excited for. But
you're gonna get home and your own Atta will have like taken over your house and your neighbor's house.
I'm gonna have to like give them to someone. I'm gonna have to get them a babysitter.
Just call me. Now, how do you collect them all again when they're out? Like when they get out like that, what do you do?
So for a lot of them, they're super aggressive. So you can like, if they're on my desk, I'll just like sweep my hand across and they'll all like start biting me. And then I just shove them off on their setup. But at this point, and it sounds really bad, but like if they're getting on my floor and stuff, I usually just sweep them up and throw them in the garbage because I've got so many. Like I can sweep up an escape of like 2,000 workers and they will not notice. Like they will get all of those workers back in like a week.
Now these guys, I've read, and I think I talked to you about it, or I've seen it in your journal. Like they get, it was your post in the journal. So that's over at formaculture.com.
Yes, sir. Cheeto's Atta Mexicana on formaculture.com.
We're trying to put some links up. So you said they kind of get as big as you let them get. So if you keep feeding them unlimited amounts of vegetation, they're going to keep producing because they have the resources to make more plants.
Essentially. There's a really cool way to keep Atta. E.O. Wilson, who's like a super famous entomologist, myrmecologist. He's actually the most famous entomologist ever, and he just so happened to be an ant guy. So
okay.
But he said, and I think he did this in his lab, that you can keep Atta colonies as a bonsai. So you can basically feed them a certain amount and limit their growth to keep them at a small size. Now, I found that only works when they are a small size because I could do that with mine. I kind of am right now, but the issue is when they're a big colony, they get mad when they're not fed, and then they try to escape even harder.
Well, sure.
So you have two options. You either don't feed them, and then they try to escape all over the place even more, or you feed them and keep them happy, but then you're just giving them more workers to then escape with. So it's a little bit of a shot in the foot growing them big. But you can keep them in like a 4x4x4 nest forever if you wanted to. Like,
what's the point of that though? They're so impressive.
Yeah,
this is so impressive.
The thing is, that's almost just to be like, I have an Atta colony and they're not a pain in my ass. But that's no fun. Like,
if you're just gonna do it for bragging rights, like just to house a bunch of different species, like get 14 different kinds of pavement ants. Like don't be a dick and get these guys that want to have thousands and thousands of workers.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it like I wouldn't call it like ant abuse because they're fine. Like the colonies are healthy when they, are kept like a bonsai, and they're much more manageable, especially if you don't have the space for something like this. Still,
I mean, you don't. I mean, your room is like what, 8x10? You said or something?
It's 9 by 9 feet. It is small.
That's like a prison cell. That is a prison cell, my friend.
Yeah, and I have like 200 colonies. Okay, that's 200 colonies is a little unfair because like most of them are for sale, and I'm saving them. I'm going to be selling at the Phoenix Expo.
Okay.
Which is hopefully going to be really, really interesting and exciting. But of colonies that I'm actually keeping myself, I still have like 50 or something.
Now, I have never seen...
Shelving units are a lifesaver. Vertical space.
I wonder if I could do that at a show, like if I started catching queens. I've never seen a flight myself. I've never seen a flight, and my friend, I'm like his bug guy, and I know a little bit. Like I use Google Lens or whatever to try to figure out what the hell he has or what he's talking about. So, he thought he was getting a termite invasion. He's like, "Hey, does this sound like termites?" And I was like, "Yeah, it kind of does." Well, no, it was an ant thing coming out, an ant flight coming out of his yard. He had like 4 colonies in his yard that were going nuts. Well, he carpet bombed him. And I'm like, I've been looking for an ant flight for a year, and you have one, and you don't even know, and you just burn them to the ground. Like he went scorched earth. Which, if you think they're termites, like fine, you don't want termites in your house. Maddie, we're not talking about the Rhea tonight. We'll get to it later. Settle down.
This is Atta show. I mean, the Rhea are super awesome, but they're also not very easy to have a nice camera on. So
yeah. Now getting back to the Atta again.
But
the queen.
What I wanted to say about
go ahead.
Well, and what I wanted to say about the Alex Mincer and his studies, because he is like the god of Atta, I swear, this guy. Because I was talking to him and I'm like, because I was super interested in his study, and I messaged him. I'm like, hey, I love your work, blah blah blah. I've been to Oregon Pyth. I love seeing the Atta. I keep Atta myself. And he was like, oh yeah, back in the 90s I used to keep like 5 different Atta species, and I donated Atta Mexicana to the Phoenix Zoo. And I'm like, what the hell? Like this guy had, because he worked at an institution, so he was able to get. At one point, he had Atta Levigata, Texana, Mexicana, Cephalotes, and Sexdens.
Now 3 of them are from like South America, right? 3 of those. Yeah,
he was catching Atta in like Brazil and just bringing him back.
Oh my god!
So he lived at one point. I think he lives in California now, but he used to live in Tucson, and he just had like 5 Atta colonies of different species too. Like, oh my gosh! But what he was saying about the wild Mexicana. Because I thought that I saw way more colonies than I did there. Because I was like, there's nest entrances everywhere. Like, holy crap, there's colonies all over the place. No, it just turns out that instead, like, you'll see videos online of, like, the South American species with, like, super long foraging trails all over the place.
They're insane.
Well, unfortunately, Arizona is kind of hot. Like, like, really hot. So you can't really do that consistently. Like, you can do it at night and during the day in the winter, but that's like, it's 120 degrees during the day for like 5 months of the year. It's not possible to have long foraging trails. So what they do is they go underground, and he said that in one direction they will have 450-foot long tunnels from their nest. So they live in like these nest centers. So they have like this area where they have their nest, and then they just shoot out in every direction for like 400, 500 feet to get plants and bring them back. It's insane.
That's a lot of work. That is a lot of work.
But that's why they get like 3 to 5 million workers in 3 years.
I mean, you can see anybody who's been watching the ant cam, you can see they're not afraid of work. Like each one of them is hauling a leaf 5 times their size.
I mean, they get mad when there's no work to do. When I'm not feeding them, like, that's when they try to escape. They're like, give us things to do.
Now, do they have a sting, or is it just a bite?
No, they don't have a sting, thank God, because their bite is bad enough.
You said it breaks skin.
The biggest workers will break skin. I wonder if there's one. I'm not going to actually let it bite me. I don't think there's any. Sometimes you'll get lucky. The soldiers normally don't forage much, but sometimes you'll get lucky and there will be one like standing guard in the outworld. There's a few larger ones. Ow! Like ow! That's a decent sized one biting me. Did you break skin? Almost. You tried. Okay. I didn't even see that big one.
Can't bug them for trying.
But they're also like super aggressive. So let's see. There's a pretty big one. She's already biting me. Already. I grabbed her in 2 seconds and she's going straight to town biting me. But that's still not max size. They get a little bit larger than that. Maybe like a millimeter or 2 larger.
They still don't get anywhere near the size of that massive queen though, right?
No, the queen is exactly 1 inch long, and the largest soldiers get to about 19 millimeters. So
not even close.
Yeah. It's like 25 millimeters to 19, so it's close. But especially the queen is so chunky and just thick that it doesn't look. I wonder if you can. Well, you wouldn't be able to see her, but yeah, she is actually. Yeah, you really can't tell, but she's right about there in the setup.
Now does she go? She goes in there, right? She has chambers inside the fungus nest.
She does, but I'm extremely lucky, and mine. I'm already getting. I accidentally touched the vine, and now there's 10 workers swarming me. But no, yeah, I'm lucky in that she like doesn't seem to care about going in the fungus. I might be able to get.
So she kind of stays out.
So yeah, I don't know if you can see her at all. But she's that dark mass right in the middle there. I mean, she's always got an entourage completely surrounding her, but there she is. Trust me.
Okay, I believe you. I couldn't see her, but I thought you could see her from space. She was in your early pictures. She was.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I mentioned though, the documentary where they pulled her out and it was just a blob of workers.
Yeah,
like
that's what it is.
That's what. Yeah.
Unreal. They got to keep her safe. That's the life giver.
Oh yeah, especially when you've only got one. If something goes wrong with her, your whole thing is done. So
Maddie's aunts posted, imagine Atta, but they only eat insects.
That would be horrible. That would be, you'd go broke trying to feed them. Well, I mean, that's kind of like Phytolerea. I'm lucky with the Phytolerea in that they really like seeds. So I can get away with feeding them. Like, as a mature colony, they'll probably be eating like 90% seeds in their diet. Sure. Which is, buying a big old bag of seeds, it's still a cost, but much better than like 400 crickets a day.
You got to start a dubia colony. And just let them go with the dubia.
Everyone tells me I need to start a roach colony, but
they're just the easiest one. So what was it? I don't know if I have other questions. Now, do you have to hydrate the fungus chambers? Do you have to open them up to hydrate them?
That's an amazing question. And the answer is no, surprisingly. I haven't watered this setup since I made them, since I casted each nest.
Wow.
And the reason is that when they're small, you do. When they're a smaller colony, they've got one chamber, you will need to give them water. But when they get to a size like this, all the moisture comes from the leaves that they harvest.
Okay, that's fair. And then
when they cut open the leaves, the moisture just goes into the setup and keeps everything good.
You can see. Okay, guys, once this video is just posted, I want you guys to go back and just do some timestamps. Since you can visually see, I can see the leaves have receded a ton. Like, it's half of what you put in there probably already.
Yeah, you can like see it like.
And we're what? We're a half hour in. We're 40 minutes in. That leaf that I was talking about that had the big cutout in it, it's gone. I didn't notice when it was gone, but it is absolutely gone. And that was a big MF leaf right there.
Yeah, they've got some really nice cuts going.
So now would you say, okay, so I know this leads me to my next question, or your last answer led me to my next question. So I know that they process the leaves. So they don't just like put the leaves up in the fungus. Like, they have to process it, right? So what is that?
Yeah. So, well, it is kind of funny. It does depend on your leaf cutter. So I have also Acromyrmex versicolor, which is the desert leaf cutter ant, and they're common as crap in like most of southern Arizona, especially Tucson. They're everywhere there, and they're hilarious because they will literally just take a leaf and just slap it on their fungus and just say, "Go at it."
Okay, all right.
Atta are a bit more sophisticated in that with their processing, they'll actually hold it, and you'll see like there's leaves in this setup that they're holding up, like that's a leaf there. And what they're doing is that they hold it kind of away from the fungus and they clean the crap out of it. So their saliva has like antibacterial, stuff in it. I'm not exactly sure, but like that's why you'll see like ants groom themselves. Like they'll run their legs through their mandibles and stuff, and it's just a great cleaning agent. It's partially why ants are so sanitary most of the time. So what they do is they clean every square inch of the leaf 3 times over. Like they go to town on it because they do not want any pathogens or any nasty stuff getting in their fungus.
Right.
And then once the leaf is totally cleaned, completely good, they dice it into the smallest, like into basically a paste, into the smallest pieces that they possibly can, and they just smear it all over the fungus.
Now, have you noticed, like, okay, so you said there's soldiers that will guard this because, so they'll guard this leaf trail from whatever comes to pick off the ants or whatever. So that's their job. So is there one like cast of ants that cuts the leaves and transports it?
I would say it's a general like sized range. A lot of their casts aren't very well defined. It's kind of a range of sizes, and they will have morphological differences, but it's not like you need to be exactly 6 millimeters and then you do this job. It's kind of just it's a range. So usually there's like, I kind of call it 3 different sizes. There's the minims, which are like they're basically minors. They're the little teeny tiny guys, and believe it or not, these guys have workers that are like literally 1 millimeter. Like they're tiny.
Yeah.
And they do the stuff like they move around the eggs and they take care of the really small larvae and they'll clean out the individual grooves of the fungus. And then you've got like sort of the middle range, which is like 4 to probably like 13 millimeters. And those are the guys that do all the cutting and the processing and everything like that. They do the leaves. And then you've got the soldiers, which are, 14 to 19 millimeters, and they're for defense. They're probably the least useful in a captive colony because there's no threats. Right. There's nothing attacking them in a captivity, so they just sit around and look pretty, which is fine. They look awesome, so I'll take it. But
yeah, until you reach in there to grab something.
Yeah, until you need to do any work in their outworld, and then they kill you.
Do they come swarming out? Like, do the majors come swarming out, the soldiers?
It takes them a minute to get the memo. As long as you're quick, no. But like sometimes you'll like go to pull something out of their outworld, and then like 2 minutes later you'll see like soldiers like standing in that area. Waiting.
Because like I just have Camponotus discolors, my only like major ant colony. Like they're pretty big now. They're probably like 400 strong.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, they've got piles of brood too right now, so I'm expecting a population boom. But I've noticed that, or I've heard that the oldest ants are the ones that come out, and the majors don't really do anything. Like they'll come out and kind of hover around the food sources. Like I'll kill a cricket or whatever and put it in there, and they'll come out and just kind of hover around it. But they don't. I thought they'd be the ones like doing some of the early processing, like getting into the cricket, because they're big, they're stronger jaws, all of that. But nah, they kind of just hang out. They really don't do anything. So I was wondering if that was the same thing with you.
It's fairly similar, yeah. Camponotus majors are interesting, especially in the wood nesting species like discolor. Is a lot of times the majors are the ones that do the nest construction. They're the ones that are digging into the wood and chipping away at it. Not entirely, but that's sort of general. And then they're also, for defense, and they also have a much larger social stomach to act as a bigger food reserve. So you'll see a lot of them really thick with the distended gaster just full of food.
Yeah, sometimes I confuse mine for the queen. I'm like, oh, there's the queen, and then I'll see the queen and be like, oh, never mind. Like she's noticeably bigger, but I get, when you're not seeing her and you see a big major come through, you're like, oh, totally, that's her. No, it's not.
That's especially a thing with the issue in Camponotus, because those majors are like surprisingly queen-like in a lot of the Camponotus.
Yeah, because I've noticed their gasters get huge, but it's basically the smaller ants like packing them full.
Yep.
So that's the same with these guys too, right? Or do the majors go and eat too? The soldiers just go and eat the fungus, right?
Yeah, that's the thing with these guys is they don't need any sort of food storage in their workers, because that's what the fungus is. It's just a giant brick of food. So they don't need any worker cast to store any kind of food.
And now, what leaves have you got in here right now? What did you put in here for them to eat?
So I can't identify plants. I know what one of them is, and that is the smaller leaves here. You can't really see them. Like these guys that are hanging on by a thread over here. They're from like, I think they're called like peacock bushes, or they grow like a flower, and I know they're called peacock flowers.
Okay.
And those leaves are great. They And they're really nice plants too. They've got like these big, beautiful red flowers.
Okay.
And they like the flowers too. Just the one in my backyard isn't blooming right now, so just leaves for now. But they really love those too because they're small, so they just have to. They don't have to cut the leaf at all to bring it back. They just cut it off of the stem and bring the whole leaf back.
That's so easy.
And then they turn it into paste, but they don't have to actually do any work to bring it back. And then these larger leaves, I have no idea. It's a tree in my yard, and they like it.
Oh, so they eat tree leaves. That's cool. My trichomyrmex won't touch tree leaves. Like they want stuff that's close to the ground or a flower. So
yeah, and especially the smaller leaf cutters, Trachy really like the soft plants too that are real easy to get. The tree leaves are pretty thick and pretty hard to get through. Even they're small Atta colonies. Like when these guys were like tiny, like 100 workers, I couldn't get them to eat like anything but clovers. They would only eat clovers. There's one spot that near here where clovers grow. I live in a desert. We don't have clovers here.
That's
like,
right.
Like they almost died because I couldn't get them to eat anything until I went out and I found a clover patch and I'm like, let's try these, and they loved them because there's we have like floodwater retention ponds because our monsoons are crazy and our dirt doesn't absorb water at all, so it just floods. So we have like floodwater retention parks basically where they function as a park for most of the year, but they're sunken down to hold floodwaters. I even saw there was literally we had got a massive rainstorm a couple months ago and there was a dude kayaking in the retention park. Why? Like I'm like, why do you even own a kayak? We live in Arizona. Where are you kayaking most of the year?
He just has it ready to go. Get my kayak. It's raining. It
was so funny. I was leaving to go anting and I look at the retention pond and it's completely full. Like it's probably like 10 feet deep. Like it's really sunken in there. Completely full. And there's this dude kayaking in the middle of it.
I feel like I'd be snorkeling. I'd be snorkeling in there or whatever.
So funny.
Like you see those videos of the forests that get flooded or the grasslands that get flooded, and it's just like crystal clear water with like grass and a bush and whatever else underneath there. It's insane.
Yeah,
but
I didn't really get close enough to tell the clarity of the water, but I just thought there was a dude kayaking in it. But basically, there's grass that grows there because it is like abnormally wet. And they also have like sprinklers, I guess. It's probably to keep the ground like porous so that it absorbs water better. Maybe.
Oh, sure.
I'm not exactly sure. But there's clovers that grow there. So I had to go out to this retention park every day and get clovers for my Atta until eventually I grew them enough and they started taking other stuff. But that was
they're
fun.
taking it. They're taking it for sure. They are not.
Now, well, and the nice thing about them being big, and this I should mention because so far I've only kind of talked crap about having a big colony escaping all the time. The nice thing is that they eat literally anything. If it's a plant, they will eat it. They don't. They can't afford to be picky, right? They've got all this fungus to feed. If there's something that could be food, they're gonna take it. They don't have the time to
I would
be
go
picky.
crazy with stuff. I would absolutely go crazy trying to give them stuff. I guess I'd watch it because I gave I had 3 walking sticks in with my trachees, and I gave them ginkgo leaves. And the next day, that all 3 of the walking sticks were dead because they chowed it. But there's some kind of looking it up. There's some kind of toxin in there, like they're anti-insect. So I didn't know. I was like, oh, they're chowing this. This is awesome. My neighbors have a ginkgo tree. I'm just going to sabotage it. But the ants weren't affected at all. I don't think they touched it because it was pretty thick leaves.
That does kind of remind me. These guys, one of their favorite foods are oleander flowers.
Okay.
They're these beautiful pink flowers. They grow in these, average-looking bushes, but the flowers are awesome. And that was one of the first things that I was able to get them to take after clovers. And so, they love them. I'll get, an entire gallon bag full of them and dump them in there, and they'll be gone by the time I wake up the next morning.
Unbelievable.
I was feeding them for months. Turns out they're toxic, super toxic. If you eat one, you'll die.
But they don't care. They don't care.
They could not care less. I don't know if it just doesn't affect insects or if the fungus can neutralize it or something, but they do not care. I posted a time lapse of them eating oleander flowers to my Arizona Discord, and people were like, are those oleander flowers? Like, are you good? Like, are you killing your Atta right now? And I'm like, what? I've been using these for months.
I remember seeing pictures on the formiculture thing where your fungus was pink because they had plowed so much of it into it. Like I noticed patches of it that were pink.
Yep.
That's so crazy.
Turns out those flowers, or at least, well, then I was told that maybe it's only the leaves, but I've even had them eat the leaves of that bush, so I don't know. But it's like apparently those bushes are like super toxic, and it makes sense because there's never any wild bugs on them. I never see like bites taken out of them, which I maybe should have paid attention to, but.
And your Atta just don't care. They're like, no.
They do not care at all. It's kind of awesome.
That's funny. Yeah, I would probably experiment. Just like pieces of cactus and whatever. All right. Thanks for coming, Rick.
Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of plants here to experiment with, but I do try a lot of the stuff.
Mason says he still doesn't trust Oleander with his acros. I'm awful with my lawn care, so I've been giving dandelion flowers to my guys, and it'll be gone the next day. And I have just the trichomyrmex, and they're tiny. So to have them decimate a dandelion flower that's an undertaking.
Dang, that's really impressive.
Yeah, so I don't really know how many are there. I don't know. I got them as a kind of a mature colony, so from Nolan. So that was like my intro to ant keeping from him. That was his gift, which is a pretty sweet gift.
That's a great gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my trachea, which I got from the same place as yours with Nolan, made elates this year.
Wow.
Yeah, for about a month it was like in April or something crazy because I woke him up from hibernation really early. But it was for like a month, and it was like for the entire month of April, basically. I would just like have queen elates around my room. I'd have flights every day in my room, and I would just feed them to my other colonies. I'd just feed them to my Novomesser and stuff.
So that's good.
Yeah, at least they didn't go to waste. But
I'm glad you got to bring them down there with you. To get that shows a really good mature colony, right? When you have the flights.
Oh yeah, when they make elates, like that's as big as that colony's really gonna get. They're
okay.
They've won once they make elates. They've fulfilled their life goal as an ant colony.
Yeah, right.
So
that's just awesome.
So when they make elates, it's a good feeling. I bet a few colonies make elates, but.
Now, how long does the Atta queen live? I know some ants can live like 30, 35 years.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. I think the longest lived colony that they found in the organ pipe survey was like 20, which is not bad.
Okay, 20 years?
Yeah, it was something like that, or maybe a little over 20. But I believe the average is 12 to 15. The issue is that that's factoring as a mature colony, where this queen is supporting 3 to 5 million workers.
So you don't know. You don't know how long she's been.
The difference is that when a queen is in a mature colony like that, she's putting her body under tons of stress. Like she's laying the most amount of eggs that she can physically lay to keep up the colony of that size. So her body is undergoing like much more stress than in a smaller colony. And this is true for all ants. So when I'm keeping my Atta at 100,000, which is small for Atta, really, my queen could live much longer because she's not putting her body under all that stress. I don't know for sure. I don't think it's been tested, but it's possible.
I've seen my guys. What is this? Probably when I get back to Arizona, I'm going to do a rope bridge with my acro, not a long one, just like 1 foot. I think that's such a cool thing. So I think the rope bridge in the Outworld is such a cool idea.
It's awesome. I literally, when I first made it, for probably a week straight, I would spend like 4 hours a day just watching them go back and forth.
I mean, I don't know. Whoever's still watching from the beginning, like, it's fascinating. I keep going back to it, and I have to come back to you because I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and watch this. It's going to be the worst interview ever. It's going to be me going, look at that one. Oh, my God, look at that one.
Oh, look what he's doing.
I told you before, like, I personally love when one of them gets to be an idiot and turns around with the leaf and goes back the other way.
I've been paying attention to it, and it's been happening. There's literally not right now. I'm doing it right now. I thought I saw one, but
and the sisters are like, idiot, come on, go the other way. Like, how do you not know this?
Get with the program, dude. Come on.
Check the traffic signals, you moron. They kick them out. They're not trying to escape. They're getting kicked out for being morons.
I think they just get confused because there's always traffic in both directions. You know, you've got new ones coming over to help cut, and then you got the ones going back. So I think they just get confused. They just get swept up in
that 17
Cheeto,
feet.
do you think Tracky would really even use a rope bridge? I don't think so. I'm gonna have to be completely honest. So my Tracky Mermex colony is 2 queens, and they're mature with about 1,500 workers, and there's like 4 that forage at a time. Like, they're not active ants. They can be. When you feed them, like, they will come out and have a good feeding response. If you did a really short one, like if you had like a dish and then like a little like, you know, like not even a rope bridge, but like if you made a bridge, like a stick, something they could walk over to another outworld, probably. I don't think they'd use it. I think you'd have to train them to use it, you know, have them recognize that there's food over here and how to get back and forth, because they're not very active foragers. Even in the wild, they really don't go far from their nest. They nest near plants so that they can get their food just right there.
Yeah.
But I think you could get it to work. If it wouldn't be grandiose like this, but a very small one, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
so they keep
you
it tight.
could. But yeah, I mean, mine have a real small outworld and they have no problems with it. So
the idea of mine switching over and using this as an outworld, are probably not. These are mine right here.
I was gonna say, how big is it?
This is my trachees right here in this flower pot. They live right under there. That's like they moved into that. I was like, I'm gonna put a flower pot in there with a plant, and the next day the plant was tipped over, and this was excavated. Their fungus was all in there. They had moved in, and I was like, so the whole bottom is sand. It's like probably 5 to 6 inches of sand. So now they're under that. So like if I pick up that pot, there's like a ton of them.
You probably could use that as an outworld. I just don't think they'd use most of it, you know?
Yeah, like you said, I've noticed that they have less and less explorers. Like they don't, now that they know the map, like they don't come out that much.
Yeah, once they're comfortable with their environment, once they know where everything is, they
just stay home. Unless
they have like 2 guys go out every once in a while to see if plants have fallen near them.
These are my food dishes. So little soda pop things. So I put these in there with oats or whatever. If I find flowers, I'll rip them up and put them in there and watch them just. These are my favorites to watch because once they get going, it's kind of fun to watch them take off with all the little bits.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's funny with Tracky Mermex because there's really just like scaled down Atta or Acro Mermex. I mean, they take smaller, you know, pieces of plant, but you know, you still got like a similar amount of traffic with like a little, like one flower will last them as long as you know, all this stuff. So you can just watch them go back and forth with little tiny pieces, and it's just, they're really cute too. I don't know. I love my Tracky. Like I do not discriminate between fungus growers. I think they're all awesome.
I remember getting them and being like, oh crap, they're tiny. Like I want these big ants. Like I want big ants. And I was like, oh crap, they're tiny. And I know Nolan was like, dude, come on, they're not even tiny. Like these are like regular sized ants. And I'm like, nah, man, I've got Pennsylvanicus in my yard. Like I know they get big. So, but I love them. They're probably my favorite colony. They are my favorite colony. Somebody really wants you to use some sunflower petals. Like this is the 3rd time they posted that.
Yeah, by the way, for people in chat, I'm not looking at the YouTube chat, so I'm only looking at what gets put up here on the StreamYard.
Yeah.
Maybe I should pull up YouTube chat. But I have not tried sunflowers with the Atta. I mean no sunflowers grow here in the valley. I think the last time I saw sunflowers was when I went to Flagstaff with them. And I didn't collect any, but yeah, next time I see sunflowers, I guess I'll give them a shot because why not? They're big too, sunflowers. So,
yeah, they last you forever. Give the seeds to one of your seed eaters or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna mention that too with your dandelions. I wish that I had dandelions here because those dandelion seeds are really good for seed eaters.
I feel like you'd have to harvest a crap load of them. So, and everybody murders them out here. Like I'd be worried that anything not in my yard was sprayed or something. I would worry that
That's true.
it was
Yeah.
treated. So I know in my yard that they're not. Like I don't get them from the border of my yard because I know my neighbors treat. But I don't. So in my backyard, yeah, and I have a really small yard, so I'm like, like I'm risking it a little bit every time. But I'm like, this dandelion looks really healthy. I'm gonna pull from it. But yeah, they're great. Yours would take the whole flower at once. Like your Atta would just be like, thanks.
Oh yeah, they'd pick up a dandelion whole and just run away with it.
By the way, update. Whoever hasn't checked in on the plants, they are destroyed. Like, look at that. It's just stems. It's on the one side is like 90% stems now, and that was green when we started the episode.
Pretty much all the peacock flowers or leaves are gone. There's a few here and there, but they're mostly just working on the ones that they have to actually cut, like the tree leaves.
Unreal. And it's been an hour. And they've decimated it. So I think you posted it, like you said, hour and a half, and it'll be gone, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah. So we're at like a little over an hour. Let's see. So you said the medium-sized ones are the ones that do all the processing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they have some sort of discrepancies in what they do, but for the most part, those are the ones that are in charge with the leaves.
Well, because like a lot of colonies, I've read this. I don't know how true it is, but the older the ant, the more they go out for stuff. So like the younger ants stay in the nest. Okay.
Yeah. So processing the leaves is a two-part job because you have to collect them and then you have to clean them and shred them inside the nest.
Right.
And so the older workers are the ones that are going out and collecting them, and then the younger workers are the ones that are sitting in the nest and processing them.
So these guys are going to go hand them off to the sprouts.
So what they'll do, and I could show this, but right where the roperage ends, they just pile up leaves in here.
Oh, they just drop them off.
You can't see it, but they just drop them. Yeah, they just run down, drop it, and then go run back up the vine.
That's interesting.
And then the guys come from the nest and grab them.
And now your base in there is just plaster Paris, right? Like your base in those.
It's Ultra Cal, which is just like a fancier plaster. It's a little nicer, especially with the hardness of it is really nice. It's much harder and tougher than plaster Paris is. Because the Atta will destroy plaster Paris. Their original setup was plaster Paris, and they shredded it. They just completely tore out like the whole thing. I don't know if I took out. I still have the container, but I took out the base.
The dust.
They shredded it. But yeah, I mean, it was like an island. Like I had originally casted the whole bottom, and they literally carved a chasm around the outside, so there's just like a disc, a wafer of plaster in the middle of this container.
Shit. Okay, I'm trying to catch a fly from my jumping spider. I saw him right here. I'm like, I'm gonna get him. No, I'm no Daniel. Oh wait, Wally had a question. I'm sure you mentioned this. How often do they need to be fed?
These need to be fed. So I've been feeding these guys a lot less. I'm feeding them probably once every three days or so, which is underfeeding them. Like I can even tell their fungus is shrinking. Like this container used to be pretty much completely full.
Okay.
And now it's shrunk. But that's not harming the colony. They're still fine. I mean, you can tell they're healthy. I'm just doing it to try and limit their growth as much as I can because they're getting out of control for me. Like as cool as they are getting out of control. So I really am toning back on their feedings. But up until this point, I was feeding them once or twice a day to get crazy growth. Like I would feed them at the most, I was feeding them probably 1.5 gallons worth of plants every day. Like I would have a gallon bag and I would fill it like most of the way up in the morning and then most of the way up again in the evening when I was feeding them, and they'd go through it all. So that's awesome. Which is like, especially I mentioned I live in a desert. We don't have a lot of plants here, so 1 gallon of plants a day is kind of it was a tall order. I'd have to walk around my neighborhood and find the bushes and flowers that they like and stuff. So
now, could you feed them, like, I know it costs more than just grabbing flowers and stuff out of the yard, but like you could give them like a bag of spinach or something and they'd be fine.
you could.
Okay.
A lot of zoos and museums will do that. Even labs with lab colonies for research will just get like the leafy greens mix at the grocery store and give that.
But like you're a college kid, that would get pricey real fast. Like,
yeah, it's like $3 for a bag of that crap. Like I have trees in my backyard.
Right.
I mean, they do, and this is one thing. They have a natural response. Like I said, they're an agricultural pest. Like they will tear down an entire tree in a day, but they do have a limiting factor, just instinct with them, where they won't accept the same type of plant for more than a few days in a row. And the reason why they do that is to prevent themselves from completely wiping out one type of plant from their area.
Okay.
Like they will try to let the plants regrow a bit before they start getting destroyed again. So if I were to just feed them, like say only the peacock bush leaves from my backyard constantly, they would eventually start refusing them. No matter how hungry they were, they would just start refusing them, and I'd have to give them something else. Now I do have 2 different plants in my backyard, so I can mostly manage it, but there are some times where they just aren't interested in either one, and I have to go out and get into something for them.
I'm going to answer Wally's next question just because I know the answer. So, and I'm going to feel cool. So Wally's question is it possible to overfeed? No. I guess the only problem with putting too many leaves is they could get out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the worst case scenario is that they'll reject the leaves and then they just dry out. They just
Then you need some.
I mean, it's like as if a leaf. It's like as if a leaf falls off a tree. You know, it'll just dry out on the ground.
Then you need isopods. I wonder if they would attack isopods.
I think they'd kill them. I think they would kill them. Like they are insanely aggressive. Like if I like put my finger here, like they're gonna start swarming me. Like they are.
But you're a threat.
Like they're extremely aggressive.
I have isopods with all of my ants, and they don't. Like at first they bothered them, but now they could care less. Like they crawl over them. They have babies living in their nest. Like babies come into their nest.
I actually. Oh my! Wait. Oh, my phone is the camera, so I can't show this. I'm gonna upload this to my YouTube channel, I guess. Okay. When I was out doing my last anting vlog and just anting, I was observing one of the Phytoleurea colonies. I climbed up the cliff to find their nest entrance on the plateau above it. And I was filming their nest entrance, and an isopod came out of their nest entrance. Like, it just walked out.
And they don't care.
I was freaking out. This is the first time I've ever seen that. There was, like, this just trail of... And these are, like, aggressive ants. Like, they're crazy.
I'm telling you. They like them because they eat up the garbage. Like, if they have a garbage site in their nest, the isopods will go in there and clean it out. So, like, if you put them in there, if you put some in the old owl world is what I'm thinking, with the dead fungus.
Yeah.
Can you show us some of that?
Yeah. There's some napkins in there too, because like I said, I have to use the napkins to clean up their barrier when I have to replace it. But it's mostly just dead fungus. It's gotten pretty bad recently.
Yeah, that's not soil, guys. That is just dead fungus. So they clean that out.
It's all it's mostly dead fungus with your occasional dead body in there.
Well, yeah. So this is their graveyard for real.
But you can even see there is some dried leaves
dried up leaf,
projected in there too.
So that's their garbage dump / cemetery. And now you're getting attacked. Yeah. I appreciate you getting attacked for us so many times today.
Thankfully, the little ones don't hurt that bad, so it's not that big of a deal. It's the big ones that I worry about. Yeah, there's the couple of bigger dudes that were on patrol are now freaking out.
Nolan and Anthony will tell you that they were like worried about me. We had dug up a colony that was probably like 100,000 strong of these little bitty yellow ants, and they were the ones that I guess Nolan was looking for. I forget what they were called.
Oh, is that the Fideli Marisi?
Yes, Marisi. That was it, because he didn't think anybody in Illinois was keeping them.
No.
So they were like kind of picking through, being like chickens almost. Like, not that they were chicken, but like, you know how chicken will peck. They were doing that. They were kind of, and I was just like straight up kneeling in the nest, like just leaning on my hand at ants swarming me, at hundreds of them all over me. And they're like, dude, and I'm like, really? Like, I could barely feel them. Like they're fine. So I had to like
That's funny.
shake my hands off because there's hundreds of them up my arm on my.
That's exactly what I do. I'll get right down in there in the, right in the down and dirty, and then just shake off afterwards.
Because it was just this huge nest it was under a weed. Like the more I pulled the weed away, the more like the roots of it, the more we're like, oh, look, all this brood and everything. We didn't find the queen on that. We kind of set them back where they were. Yeah, I bet dentata pinch a little. My campanatus, when they escaped, they got up into the whole colony escaped. I was showing them my friends in one of the tubes.
That.
So they all escaped and they went up into a potted plant. And when I found them, they swarmed me, and I freaked out. Like they didn't really hurt that bad, but I freaked out and probably killed like half of them because I was like, die. But now they still swarm. Like they still swarm me if I go in there. They're super aggressive towards me. And you can't sweet talk them. You can't be like, "Oh, sweetie, no, it's me. I'll feed you."
They don't care. They will bite the hand that feeds them.
No, they come flying out.
They're ungrateful, right? I feed you. You're the reason why you're alive. You bite me.
Oh yeah. Invincible Ant says this campanatus colony has dwarf whites. So my ants will actually eat the dwarf whites. So they look at them as food, but they'll let them in. I also have a species that I can never remember the name of it. I have a species of isopod that is known to be symbiotic with ants. Like they only live in ant nests in the wild. So, but I wouldn't know the difference between them and dwarf whites. So I trust the person who sent them to me because they could have just said it. They could have just said like, no, these are whatever. And it's dwarf whites. In the mini hearth, they don't even care. They crawl on the queen. That's awesome. Because springtails do the same thing too. And I was hoping with my trachees that the springtails would regulate mold, because I was really worried about mold because I don't know how much to water them. Like to this day, I don't know how moist to keep them. But they're doing fine, so I'm doing something right. Yeah, they're talking about all the guys that are biting. Rhea super majors suck at biting.
Yeah, that's actually their super majors are huge. They're like 13 millimeter Phytoli, like they're enormous,
and they're all
massive heads.
Yeah,
they're all head. They're literally like not like probably 65% head by weight. like they are huge. But the nice thing is that they're built for crushing seeds, so their mandibles are like completely blunt. They don't have any teeth going on. It's just it's just a press of so they can't even really grab you. Like they're not good at it.
Oh, here's I don't know what this means, so I'll let you translate.
You found a Strumigenus queen with your dentata. Nice.
And he just said
that's interesting too, because he's having a wild time because he lives in Wisconsin, where there's not a lot. I mean, it's cold. There's not a lot of ants there. Phytoli dentata is not supposed to be in Wisconsin, but apparently he found them in like and I believe he sent the videos of their nest and everything of a tree that's like the species of tree is native to the southeast U.S. where Phytoli dentata live. So the tree like got imported with a dentata colony in the soil, and he found them. And I guess
that's crazy
that he just found a Strumigenus queen in that soil too, which are the super little tiny ones that I was telling you.
They're not native either.
So it's pretty unlikely that it's a native Strumigenus species. Wisconsin doesn't even have any currently documented Strumigenus species. T-Bone found one. T-Bone found an undescribed Strumigenus in Wisconsin and is helping get them described.
Here we call him Anthony. So
Anthony.
Sorry, I don't mean to correct you, but he was on with you last time you were here. But you guys go back to the video.
So there is
T-Bone was here too.
There is Strumigenus in Wisconsin, but probably not whatever species he just found. So that's interesting.
Ants Flagstaff. I'm in Illinois. I'm in Joliet, Illinois. So, or as the natives call it, Joylet. So it is.
I've never heard that. That's amazing.
It is a toilet. So I didn't used to call it that. I would get really mad when people called it Joliet. I'd be like, how dumb are you? But now I call it Joylet almost exclusively because we're like Chicago's toilet is what we are. So
I mean, the whole state is. Let's be honest.
Illinois? No, you come from Naperville, son. You're privileged.
I come from Sugar Grove. Okay.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
I don't know if. Yeah, you've never heard of that place. Got a nice 8,000 people surrounded by cornfields in all directions.
Well, that's where I went to high school. So, as another sidetrack,
our biggest tourist attraction was a Culver's.
Come for the Culvers, stay for the corn.
Our town fair was called the Sugar Grove Corn Boil.
Okay, nice, nice.
It was not the place to live. I hated it.
Where I graduated high school, we had catfish days. So we moved from Joliet to Wilmington, Illinois. And I went from 4,000 kids in my high school to 400 kids in my high school.
That's so, yeah. We had like 1,100 in my high school.
Wow.
We had drive your tractor to school day.
This was in the 90s, and I was just telling some drive your tractor to school day. I just aired right over that, and I was like, wait a minute. He just said something really interesting.
Yeah. And people did it too. Like, it wasn't just like there would be like 30 tractors in the school parking lot. I'm not even kidding.
I can't imagine.
I wish I was kidding.
I'd be like, I'm skipping school today. I'm ditching school because I just can't deal with this. Were those the schools that like my friend teaches outside Indianapolis, and it's a small rural school, and the kids miss like a semester because they're out working the fields with their parents, or they come in at like 1 p.m. because they were working the fields since 5. So was that something at your school or no?
I couldn't. It definitely wasn't a large portion. If it was, I would believe that there were cases of that.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a widespread thing.
So I have a question for me. Look at this. This is new. Flagstaff not only wanted to know where I was from, but what species do I keep? Cheeto, I'm going to have you help me. So I have 3 Campo species. I have Camponotus discolor, which when I got them, they were like 40 workers and a queen, and now they're like 400. So they're in a 30-gallon setup that took me 4 months to build. I'll have to post a detailed video of it, but it's, if you can imagine, the 2 short walls of the tank are so the 2 short walls and the back wall have a wooden thing that I built up, and then I drilled tunnels and chambers in it. It took me 4 months because it's hardwood. I used hardwood because I didn't want them just destroying it inside. So then I sealed everything. Then I put it up, and I think I screwed up when I glued it. Like, this is the first vivarium that I ever built. So they have a waterfall. They have a moss carpet throughout the whole thing. It's just moss with lava rock underneath because I don't want them to try to live anywhere but in the thing. So in the thing I built, and it took me forever to get them to move in there. So it took me forever. I was so mad. I had to flood them out. I had to make them cold. I had to take everything out but the lava rock. And they still were like, we're going to stay underneath the wood thing, and you can go screw yourself. So now they're in there. They're comfortable. They have like 4 shelves of pupa, and the queen stays right inside the front door. She lives half an inch from the front door. And I hate it. I'm like, get in there. I made her a throne. I carved her out a throne. I was like, she'll go here. I'll keep it really heated. It's full of eggs. They just put eggs there. So anyway, I have discolor. I have a queen of Novabarensis. That's the one that's I have a queen of Novabarensis. So I put them into a thing that I thought was escape proof, and I was wrong. So it was escape proof for everybody but the queen. So her colony dipped out on her, and she couldn't fit. So she's stuck. So she had like 30 workers. She started with her and some pupa. And so she's by herself. I keep feeding her and keep hoping she's going to lay more eggs. I tried to brood boost her. She ate those. I haven't seen them. They may still be in there. I don't know. They're in a really cool open air setup, but it was, crap. We caught those on the one anting trip I went on. I can't think of the name of them. They're kind of silver. They're smaller. The queen's pretty active, but they just burrow. I guess they're like ninjas, so they don't ever come out. I noticed some food items that I put in there go missing. I'll think of it by the time we are out of the show.
Are you thinking like Formica subcericea?
Yes. And I say it's subserica, so subcericea sounds so much cooler. She was like 20 workers, and I put her in this open air there's a jar, and then there's a smaller jar inside. So she would have about this much space to burrow all the way around.
Oh, yeah.
And then inside is like sand, and the inside jar is like sand with bamboo. So I imagine they could crawl up it if they wanted to, but they wouldn't jump off, right, on purpose. And then it's just 2 barriers in there on the inside lip, because the inside lip is kind of like this, right? So there's Vaseline, and then on the top there's the alcohol and baby powder. The other small colony that I have, they refuse to grow. It's Camponotus chromiatus.
I say chromades.
Chromades. All right. Thanks for coming, Wally. Had a great night. And then I have 5 queens in this little tube that are supposed to be thief ants, but Nolan and Anthony think different. So they think that they are. I forget what they think they are, but they
was that the Phytoli Tysoni?
Maybe
ordeal?
I think I sent you a picture.
Yeah, I feel like I remember like you sent me one and they looked kind of like thief ants, but then I saw another picture and they kind of looked more like Phytoli Tysoni. That was a weird one.
We'll see. They still don't have babies. They still don't have nanitics, so I don't know. And one of them died. One of the queens died. So there were 6. If they're whatever Tysoni, if they start to fight, I'll just separate them, and then I'll have a ton. But that's all the ants I have. So, and I don't think my wife knows I have any ants. So that one escape was like really harsh. So my discolor have 2 barriers. They have a barrier on the top that goes around the lip of the tank, and then just under it, and it's the alcohol talcum. And then they have underneath that the Vaseline, which they actually, the bastards, put garbage into the Vaseline so they can use it like a ladder. So I've seen them go all the way up the Vaseline, up this ladder, and then fall off the talcum. So I have to reapply that. Like, I haven't really touched the talcum powder barrier, but I have to reapply the Vaseline thing kind of all the time. But the good news with that one is you just kind of put it all the way around again. You don't really have to scrape it off. At least I don't. I don't know. But that's what I have. So it's like 6 colonies, and I only ever really wanted 2. So.
Dude, ant keeping is like a bug. I mean, when I first started watching Ants Canada, I was like, I want a Camponotus pennsylvanicus colony. They're the coolest ever. They're big black ants. And then I proved to just be like insanely lucky all the time, because I got them. I was just out cracking sticks one day and I found a whole 8-worker pennsylvanicus colony in a branch.
Yeah.
So I collected those and was enthralled with them for like 5 days until I was out anting again, and I found a Phanagaster tennesseeensis, which are like they're like red and like an amber, like they have like an amber colored gaster, and then their head and thorax is red. And then I was like, I have to get these. And then it was like that from then on. I would have a colony that I liked, and then I'd find a new species that I thought was cool, and then I'd have to get them. And so on and so forth until now I have like too many.
Well, I had my 3 discolor queens, and when Anthony and Nolan came over, they were like, no, these aren't the 3 species that you have. They're like, this is this, and this is this. And I was like, hold on, I gotta write this down because I totally had the wrong species. I knew they were Camponotus, but I don't remember what I thought they were. Nigobarensis and some other stuff. I didn't realize I had. They were super excited to see the discolor that were they don't, this species, I've had them since last winter. They don't, she just keeps producing. She doesn't slow down at all during winter.
I was kind of wondering about that. That's really nice.
Yeah. She just crushes it out. So that's why I've had them a year and they're huge. So that's why they're huge, I think. So,
yeah, probably.
So yeah. And then, as Flagstaff said, like, oof, the wife doesn't know. So this is kind of a funny story, I guess. She had a stroke a couple years ago, and it's pretty minor. She's like 95% recovered. Going to be going back to work probably this year.
Nice.
But she can't really come downstairs. If she ever watches my channel, she's going to find out for sure. I think she knows because I'm not good at keeping secrets. And I get real excited about talking about my stuff. So she helped me build the vivarium for the ants, but I told her it was for isopods, which wasn't really a lie because there's isopods in there. But yeah, When she finds out, she's probably going to be pissed. She might not be pissed that I have one colony, because I could be like, oh, they got in there. I don't know what happened. Like, they must have been in the house. But now I'm talking about getting termites. I'm trying to contact a guy to talk about termites and keeping those. So I haven't had much luck, but I haven't reached out to this guy yet. So we'll see. Yeah, ant keeping is like a drug. It's like I started in isopods, and now it's like, oh, I'll get a couple species, no big deal. And then I got up to 32 species and just basically liquefied them. I not liquefied them, but I sold them all to a friend, or most of them. Yo, Cheeto being interviewed. Let's go. Sorry, Luca. It's my show. Suck it. So, yeah, they all went. And then, so that started that, but it got to be too much work. Like, it was just too much going on. But now the ants, I started with like 3 queens, because you hear they die all the time. So
that is, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, because you want to normally over collect if you find like more than 1 queen of whatever you're finding.
Yeah.
But then the issue comes, because you always want to have backups, because if you only catch 1 and she dies, then it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to catch so many more, and I caught 1 and it died. But then if you catch like 30 of them and they all live, then you have 30 colonies of the same species. I have that exact problem. I have a box with 50 Chromatogaster colonies in it.
Shasta.
And I was like, surely I'll be able to sell all of these. Chromatogaster are cool, and I've sold like 2. So those are my expo colonies. Those are the ones that I'm selling for like dirt cheap at the Phoenix Expo.
I want to see an expo where they sell ants. Like up here, I've never seen it. I'm sad that I didn't ask before Wally left, but Wally goes to all kinds of shows to sell stuff. But I've never seen anybody up here selling ants in Illinois. So that might be a cool thing if I can go out and collect ant queens to go to a show and sell.
Yeah, I did with Nolan once. We went to an expo and we had like kind of garbage colony to sell. Yeah. We had like Temnothorax and like Camponotus noveboracensis, and we were like, sure, let's try to sell these at an expo. But we only did it once. We just did one. Now
they're easy to keep though, right?
They are. We sold 2 Camponotus colonies and a Temnothorax colony, made even on our table rental and gas, and we were like, sure, it was fun. I mean, we had a great time.
That's cool. So then you get to like meet people in the other tables and find out stuff.
Oh yeah, that's where I got my first jumping spider. I bought a Phidippus regius from a breeder that was there.
I have a queen right now and another male, but I didn't know she ever had contact with a male. She just laid an egg clutch like 3 months ago, and then it kind of disappeared. And now I'm finding baby black jumping spiders all over my desk. I find them 3 a day probably.
Wow, that's fun.
Yeah, and they're microscopic, like they're like 2 millimeters maybe.
Yeah.
So you're into jumpers now too. Okay, so how old is your Atta colony? Flagstaff wants to know.
He's correct. So this queen flew last June, late June 2020.
Okay. So yeah, they're just over a year, maybe close year and a quarter.
And they're kind of funny because like, really, it took them probably 8 months. It was probably April when they hit like 1,000 workers.
Okay.
And now it's basically October and they have 100,000.
So they just hit a certain threshold and just exploded.
Their growth is like crazy exponential. It's insane. Like all ants have exponential growth, but these guys are just, because they don't hit a limit like ever in captivity. Like, so you just grow them like until you can't anymore, basically.
There's no huge colonies in New Mexico. So Luca lives in New Mexico, so he said they don't get huge colonies. So one of the things you said, when you get 30 queens that live and you don't know what to do with them, or 50, like your box of queens, that's why you want to catch locally, right? Is so you can just, like worst case scenario, you just release them. You find them different spots.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little harder out here because the desert's harsh.
Yeah.
They can only, I mean, they only fly after the rain because that's when the soil is soft enough for them to dig a founding chamber.
Okay.
So say if I were to release them, I'd want to do it probably in the winter when it's cool, and I'd have to hydrate. I'd have to take water out with me and like hydrate the ground where I want to release them.
Well, I mean, you
I
could just
have
wait till
released.
after a rain, right? You just wait
You
till after a
could, but
rain.
it doesn't rain very often here, so
That's
good
true.
luck with that.
That's true.
But I have released ants in my backyard before. I
Okay.
released my golden fire ant colony in my backyard, which sounds a lot worse than they are. They're pretty tame for being fire ants.
Okay.
But they were just kind of being a pain to keep. They were, I mean, they're stingy, so I was kind of getting sick of them. But they're still cool, so I didn't want to like kill them. So I just released them in my backyard. I just took my garden hose and just sprayed part of the yard and just set them. I just set their nest outside and took off the caps. Just let them go at it. And I thought they died because I had checked the spot where I released them at and they were gone. And then like a few weeks ago, I looked and they're totally not dead. They're doing amazing. They just moved to a different part of my yard.
The part that you watered wasn't good enough. They were like, "F this." Like,
Well, I guess that
moving
they
over
just
here.
sat there for a few days and then just moved somewhere else. So
I mean, they probably found a crack in the yard, like some kind of crack, and that was it.
yeah, I don't. They probably just got deep enough underground so they hit like the natural water line and then just
Unreal.
moved around.
Flagstaff, I've been keeping about 9 months now, I think. 9 months. And my discolor are my success. Everybody else is struggling or escaped. I'm not sure my subs.
Well, your trackies are doing good, right?
Oh yeah, my trackies are doing really well. But they kind of came to me with like 200, 300 workers. So they had a really good head start.
So they're guaranteed success with those guys.
Kind of. I feel like I've made some mistakes.
I think every colony that's come out of Sand Ridge has done well.
Yeah.
Because there's been a few, like people have thoroughly kept that population. I know I have a colony, you have a colony, and then I know a third guy who has one, and I know all three are doing well. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I guess I got Nolan went out and caught like 7 or 8 colonies at once, and he just was like, before he dug, he's like, all right, this one's for this person and this one's for this person. And luck of the roll, I got the biggest one that he caught. So I was real happy about that. They had like 6 queens that he identified. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, mine only has 2.
Yeah, that was what they saw. Like they didn't go through the whole thing. So because the queens look just like the workers, basically, don't they?
Yeah, they're pretty hard to pick out. I mean, what we did with mine, I didn't even know that mine had 2 queens. We just dug them up. Well, we didn't even know they were polygynous at the time. This is the first time that we had seen them in the wild when I got mine. So we had no idea that they could even have multiple queens because they're not known to. Like they're a far-ranging species, and in most of their range, they will not tolerate multiple queens. So we thought they would just have one. So we dug up my colony. We found a queen, and we were like, "Cool, we got the queen." Threw him in a bag, brought him home. And then later that day, we were digging up a second colony, and that one we confirmed 2 queens in that colony, and we were like, "Oh crap, they're polygynous!" Like,
that's awesome.
Whoa! And then I was all mad because I'm like, "Oh no, I only got a 1 queen colony. This sucks." And then I got home and they had 2 queens, and I was no longer mad.
Well, they forage too, like the queens forage in the Trichomyrmex. I found out. So, not that I've seen them do it, but I honestly, I don't think I could tell the difference between a queen and a worker.
It's the founding queens that do. When they get workers, then they stop. But
okay, because I heard.
Yeah,
I guess I was reading it wrong.
Colonies. Yeah, they're not fully claustral. So when they're starting after their flights, they have to go out and grow their own fungus themselves.
Okay, so it's not just the pellet. They don't just like grow that pellet from magic.
Yeah, that's what Atta do, and that's why the queens are so goddamn fat. Is that Atta queens have like resources in their own bodies to grow the fungus, where
they do.
Queens, yeah, so Atta queens are kind of funny. They grow their fungus by pooping all over it. They literally just shit all over the fungus, and that's how it grows in founding.
So they don't use their ant soup or whatever that Mikey talks about on Ants Canada.
Yeah, no, that is for most queens where they don't have a fungus to care about. They just have larvae. But no, yeah, Atta queens just they put down their fungus pellet and then they just shit all over it, and that's how they grow it. Where where I think it's literally every other fungus grower, the queens have to go out and forage for material to grow it with.
That's crazy. Flagstaff wants you and Mason to go find and scout Cephalotes roweri.
Oh, those. So those are our turtle ants. I don't know if you've seen them, where they're like they have the front door, like their head is a door.
Basically. Oh yeah.
Dinner plate heads.
Yes.
Yeah, we do have a species of those in Arizona, but they are impossible to find. Trust me, ants Flagstaff. We've been looking every time we go out to somewhere that could have them. We look, but they are just not easy to find. Because
that part's fascinating. That's such a cool, that's another thing of ant evolution. Like, who would evolve their head as a door? What the hell?
How do you evolve to have a literal door head?
Or one of them just evolved it, and the other ants were like, "We'll only make the entrance that big, and you can be the door. That's your job. You're the door." Now, with those, do the other ants in the colony, do the sisters they all have the door head, or just certain ones?
So cephalotes are bimorphic, so they have a minor and a major. And the majors and the queen have the door head, and the minors look relatively normal.
A door head?
Like the dinner plate head. It's just a disc.
I just think it's funny did we just coin that phrase here, the door head?
Door head? I think maybe. I don't know.
All right, trademark
I
copyright.
Heard it before, now that I think about it, but
trademark copyright IsoBuddies Productions. So come at me, bro. Try to use that somewhere else.
All phragmatic ants are now door heads.
Try to use that somewhere else.
I'll come after you. There's a surprising amount of door head ants.
Well, I saw the ones where they keep the majors there's 7 of them right there with their jaws open in the door, ready to go, ready to throw down. But it's just their face. It's just crammed full of heads.
Well, that is one function of super majors in trimorphic Phytoli, is that their heads are so goddamn fat that they can just shove it in a nest entrance and block it up.
Go.
Yeah, so you don't even need to be a door head when your head is just so colossal that you just shove it in there. Just thunk, just a cork right in the nest entrance.
I can't get over the evolutions of them. We're over an hour and a half if you're okay.
Awesome.
I can talk ants all day.
So I've got nothing going on tonight. I don't know about our viewers, but
I mean, they've been dropping off. So your guys that you brought are hardcore. They're still here. So
I have it's really funny. So when I moved to Arizona, I didn't think that there was any ant keepers in AZ. I knew of 3.
Okay.
But I decided to make a Discord server for Arizona ant keepers, just to make a little community, and now we have 70 people in there. I've just been slowly recruiting people. I'll find a post online of someone hey, I found this ant in Arizona, what's it about, and I'll just invite them. And that has sort of resulted in me having a cult following. because there was no community in Arizona. No one knew, everyone had their own experiences, and there were some people who knew what they were doing when it came to keeping. But no one was. There was no coordination.
There wasn't a presence. There wasn't there wasn't a community.
Yeah, so I kind of made a community, and I guess just everyone loves me for it. So I kind of have a cult following, a little bit.
At 20 years old, the god of Arizona. Wow, you went from king to god in one post. That's crazy. Hail Cheeto. Is that why you're Cheeto Lord? Is it the Lord part we should be focused on? And that I was calling you Cheeto Bandito all day, so I hope that sticks too. I said, Daddy's gonna go talk to a guy named Cheeto Bandito, and my wife's my daughter's like, no, you're not. She's 3. She's 3, by the way. She's like, no, you're not. You're not talking to a guy named Cheeto. I'm not buying that bullshit. Her face said most of that, but
dude, I wish my name was Cheeto. It'd make things so much easier.
Right
now I have to explain to people oh yeah, my name's actually Tyler, and Cheeto's just a stupid nickname.
How did you get the nickname Cheeto?
That's boring. I was 13 and I thought it sounded cool on Xbox Live, and it stuck.
I think we talked about this last time.
That's literally, yeah. It comes up a lot. That's literally it. I was making an Xbox Live account, and I was like, yeah, Cheeto Lord. And then I was like, I was born in 02, so let's throw that on the end. Cheeto
That's too
Lord
funny.
02. And
You're born in
it
02.
stuck like crazy. Yeah,
So I graduated. I graduated high school in '92. So
okay, not too bad. I thought you were gonna
right.
say I graduated high school in 02, and I was gonna be like,
no. I was like, yeah, I was like 27 when you were born. So 47 now. What? Tyler Boner. Okay, all right. You get a lot of respect. You get about as much respect as I do. I'm all about building the community on these hobbies because I think it brings so many people together. And I've met, through all of the hobbies, I've met so many great people that have turned into literal friends. Like I could tripled my actual friend count with people that, you invest in these people, you care about them. They care about you. Like, it's amazing because the internet as a whole sucks.
It does.
Sucks. It's a garbage dump of shitheads. And to find a community or a group of like-minded people, because you can't really talk about this stuff with your normal friends, like your day-to-day friends. You can't be like, oh my God, my Atta colony is crushing these peacock leaves like mother effer.
I could not agree with you more. Like, I think all of my like long-term friends that I've had, I met on Discord. Like, yeah, because you share interests. Like, I most of my day is spent either talking about ants online or looking at my own ants or going out and looking for ants. Like, it like dominates my entire life. So if I've got friends that could not care less, what are we gonna talk about?
Yeah.
Right.
So, but you have to have friends like nearby, right? That don't care about ants.
I play video games sometimes, like.
Like I feel like that's why I have 20 hobbies, is because I have to find people that like at least one of those hobbies. So, like, you can see I have a 3D printer back here. I paint and print miniatures, do role-playing games, collect ants, collect isopods. Now I'm into jumping spiders. Like, it's insane. I have a kid. She's a huge hobby. Kids, if you're listening, because every ant keeper I've met is 22 and younger. You young bastards. They have your kids before you're 35. If you're 35 and you haven't had a kid, forget about it. Just live your life. You've already made your choices. Just keep it that way. After 35, you are too old to have a kid.
We came for Atta talk, and now we're leaving with life advice.
I try. As an elder.
Advice. If you're gonna keep a 100,000 worker Atta colony, do it right the first time. Get outworlds that are actually escape proof.
Yeah, I feel like you could modify these to be escape proof.
I could. And I really need to.
You called it. We're like an hour. Well, we're an hour and 45, and look at those plants. They're gone.
Yeah,
they are gone, bro.
Yeah, they're pretty much gone.
It's stems and little bits left.
Stems and a few of the peacock bush leaves, and that's about it.
Unbelievable. They decimated that stuff. Decimated. So it's been awesome. Queen Cheeto. We're gonna be workers in the airy ant colony, and Cheeto be the queen. Luca went street. Luca went real street with that post. Cheeto be the queen. Hail
the
Queen
emojis
Cheeto.
Don't help. It's funny though that you mentioned that you were getting into jumping spiders. I like them. My issue, I'm spoiled. They don't live long enough for me. They don't. Like, so the two other inverts that I really tried getting into were mantises and jumping spiders. And I've had a mantis and I've had a jumping spider that I loved. Love those guys. But they died like a year ago each, or over a year ago.
Yeah. They live about a year. They live about a year each.
I think my jumping spider lived closer to 2. He was a trooper.
Okay.
But even still, like 2 years is nothing. Like I've got worker ants older than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but I love their personality. I was cleaning out. I think I brought some in with my leaves for my isopods, because I found when I was cleaning out my isopods, this little like It was local, so it was just a little gray. But he was like, not even scared. He was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" So I kept him. He's got all kinds of personality. He comes right out when I open his thing. He's like, "What you got for me? Are we doing crickets today?"
That's awesome. I really gotta keep some of those guys again. Well, so I did get into another type of invert, not an insect or arachnid, but I got into centipedes. Which,
gross!
Like, we got like big ass ones here in Arizona, and they're like sick. Like, centipedes are like kind of lame and gross in a lot of the world, but like we got like big ass ones here.
I'm not a fan of centipedes, like not at all.
Hang on. So I wonder if he's still out or if he burrowed. He's still out. He's not burrowed yet. This guy is real tiny.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, he's bright orange. Yeah, you say he's tiny, but he's got to be like what, 7 to 8 inches long?
He's probably 3 inches. He's not big.
Oh, okay.
But he will get big. He will get big. Yeah, he's probably about 3 inches right now. Oh, you can't even. He's running around in there though.
Oh, he's flying around. Yeah, he's bright orange. You can see him really well.
Yeah, but so that's a Scolopendra haros, which is the giant desert centipede. He's not giant right now. He will be. He's a bab. He's a little baby. But they get to like, I think they can get anywhere from like 7 to 10 inches long.
Good God, that's a nightmare. That is a straight up nightmare for me. My friend has one that's a monster, but he bought it like from someone else. It's some kind of like tropical one, I guess. But
yeah, I don't think I'd ever buy, especially since we have like big ones native here. I don't think I'd ever buy a centipede, but I have another one. So I just got him. It's featured in my anting vlog because I found him just now. But my other one that I have is a Scolopendra polymorpha, which are slightly smaller. I think they get to like 6 inches at the max. Okay. But he's blue. They're called polymorpha because they have like a bunch of different color morphs. Most of them are called like tiger centipedes because they've just got like a gray and orange banding going on. Okay. They're kind of neat looking. But this dude is blue. Like he's got an orange head and the rest of him is blue, which is like super, super cool.
That is super cool.
But he's kind of pet dirt a little bit. He makes a burrow and I don't see him very often.
Yeah, see that's boring. But they're so creepy. Like that's fine.
Yeah. Well, and they're nocturnal, so like if I stay up late, I'll a lot of times see him running around in his setup. But the Haros is so cool because I've seen probably 1,000+ polymorphos, and that the other day was the first Haros I've ever seen. Like they are in Arizona, like super rare. I got so lucky to find one.
Are they more southern?
It's nice that he's yeah. Well, they've got a bunch of different color morphs too. There's a Texas morph, which is like completely different. It's like a black body and like a red head. And it still looks really cool. Yeah, mine is an AZ Haros. Makes enough sense. Jet black says yellow. Okay, so the New Mexico one sounds like the Texas one. That is the Texas variant. The yellow legs, red head, and jet black. I actually used to prefer the Texas one. I think I'd have to see both in person though, because after seeing my Arizona one in person, I think I kind of prefer them. But the Texas Haros are common. Like in Texas, as long as you know where to look, they're kind of everywhere. But the Arizona ones are pretty rare. So I'm very lucky.
So crazy. All right. Well, thank you for all. I think we should cut it short. We're pushing 2 hours here.
I wouldn't even necessarily call it cut short, but
yeah. I can talk all day. I can talk about this stuff all day. So
yeah,
and you can tell
I have too many ants to talk about. So
well, I mean, I could have you on 10 more times and talk about different species. I feel like you like to get bitten at this point. Okay.
The big ones are fun to handle when they're not biting you. Especially like
they're
big. They have like mass, so you can feel them on you.
That would be.
Or if they're only biting like a real thick part of your skin, then you can't even feel them.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'll bite you. I'll bite you right now, bro.
Yeah, dude, he's trying to go at it, but he's really not doing much damage.
For once.
Yeah, he's got me right on the joint where it's like super thick skin.
I mean, you can tell his legs are even like long as hell.
They use their whole body to try and get you.
Look at those crazy legs on him. Those hind legs.
Oh yeah, that's one cool thing about Atta is that they're super leggy. They just have ridiculously long legs.
I would love to have a colony and get one of those ant mimics, the spiders that are ant mimics, and just introduce them to them. That's awesome.
That is another thing that's really fun. I don't know if you probably won't be able to tell on there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But they're also like super spiky.
Oh, okay.
So, like they have these crazy spikes on their backs. So when you try to pick them up, and if you're not careful, you'll like stab yourself on their spines.
Oh my god! So they are just built for defense and murder.
Yeah, because I mean they're vegetarians, but if you try to mess with them, you will not come out okay. Like, I mean they're kind of they're kind of like elk, right? Like they're just vegetarians, but they got these big old horns, and if you go near them, they'll destroy you.
They'll like jack you up.
Yeah,
they will jack you up, and they're about the size of elk to ants, probably. Good size comparison. That's crazy. I'd like to see what preys on them, because obviously something eats them. If they're
it's terrifying. Their main predator, thankfully, that's not well. I wouldn't say thankfully because they're super cool, but thankfully for the Atta at least, they're not in Arizona, and a lot of Atta Mexicana's range in like northwestern Mexico and stuff doesn't have them. But there's a species of army ants, or a genus rather, called Noma myrmex. They're the most heavily armored ants on the planet. They have like bulletproof exoskeletons,
and they prey on Atta.
And they will fight and win against mature Atta colonies.
That's
like they raid.
That's hardcore.
They raid mature leafcutter ant colonies for their brood. It's nuts. Like they're they're an ant that I want to see in person. They are so built.
That would be super cool. But you said they're mostly in Mexico, right? They're south of you.
They've got a huge range. The northernmost tip of their range is like the southern tip of Texas.
Okay.
But yeah, they're mostly in like southern Mexico and then into like the north half of South America. Like, so they go all through Central America and South America and stuff. But you barely get them. Like, I know a friend of mine has seen a couple workers that were on a tree in southern Texas.
Unreal. Okay, so now we know what kills them. Kind of.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Like the fact that there is an animal out there that can kill.
Just eats them on purpose. Just goes after them on
and
purpose.
And like not even like a worker. Like I can kill like a worker, but like the whole colony in the wild.
that would jack you up like a human. Imagine it gets up your pants, and because they do. They do, right?
Even like speaking from experience, like Atta are hard to kill. Like they are tough. They've got hard exoskeletons. Like if you squeeze one between your fingers, you have to really like grab it to try and crush it, and then you'll get stabbed too. Like they got spikes.
Yeah, even then they have spines. Like so, what's the point? If you
try to squish them, you're gonna get stabbed by their spines.
You got to bring some pliers or something with you.
Yeah. So then when you've got their predator ant, which is even more heavily armored and has a sting, good luck.
Good Lord. And they eat poison. So they had to eat poison. So what can you do?
Yeah, you can use fungicides to target their fungus gardens. Like there's like some crazy Atta pesticides, because Atta are like a huge pest in a lot of their range because they destroy plants. So you'll like I remember seeing like a commercial in Spanish that my friend sent me where it's this poison that's designed to like mimic a food that the Atta want, and it's like these pellets, like these balls, and the Atta carry them home, and it's a fungicide, and it kills their fungus.
I mean, they always come up with ingenious ways. Those Oregon guys are out of control.
Right.
So, well, I'm going to have you back again. We'll probably talk about a different colony. We'll either talk about a different colony or specifically talk about anting. So I think that would be better. And I appreciate that you would love to come back. I thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm always excited.
Always down to talk about anting. Would be a great topic.
Yeah, because I feel like I don't know enough about it. And I found a small colony in my backyard that had male elates on the surface. So I was hoping for a flight in the next couple of days, but I don't even know what they are. So they're small, black. I don't know. Probably like 4 millimeters. The elates were anyway.
They were probably a Lasius species.
Yeah, I know I have Lasius here.
Yeah, that's mostly what's flying around this time of year, are Lasius.
See, ask the experts. So we'll have you on again. I kind of wanted to just stay on until these leaves were gone. I'm going to pull you out and do my closing. And if you want to hang out and talk a little bit more, by all means. If you don't, by all means. Have a great day.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
it's been a while.
So, it has, yeah.
Let me pop you out if you're gone when I get back out of here. I totally understand. So,
well, yeah, I had a great time. So.
Awesome, man. Awesome. We'll definitely have you on again. So I'm glad you came this time too. Thanks for coming back. So, peace, love, and prosper, and have fun. You're in college now, right?
Yes, sir. Oh wait, now that I've got really quick. Now that I have my phone free, I want to show you the picture of the isopod in the Phytoli nest.
I might be able to ID it for you. I bet it's a giant canyon. Was it good size?
Yeah. So like.
Oh no, that's like an armadillidium.
Yeah.
That's
those
awesome.
Ants are, 4 or 5 millimeter ants.
That's a cool looking isopod.
It was hilarious.
That's
the
crazy.
Video I have of my reaction, because that's like a screenshot from the video. The video I have is hilarious. I'll have to upload it to my YouTube. But yeah, he just waltzed out of the nest entrance. Anyways,
thanks, guys.
That's what I wanted to show you on my phone now that we got the ant cam going.
Thanks for showing me afterwards, because the ant cam was the star of the show.
It really was. I bet that's what people were looking at most of the time.
It went ant cam, you, me. So that's how it's supposed to be. I'm not the star of my shows, it's the guest. So have a good night. Let me do the closing stuff, and I'll talk to you again. All right, be in touch.
For sure.
All right, talk to you later, Cheeto. Well, as we all know, whoever's left, you guys are more fans of Cheeto than anything else. I appreciate everybody new coming. If you're new here and you like what you saw, we interview about ants. Not as much as possible. We do ants. So, and we're going to do termites soon. Do a lot of other interesting stuff. So, if you're interested at all, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell icon so you can see all my other videos. We try to air every Tuesday at the same time. Eat your veggies, stay strong, and stay safe out there. So get your vaccine. Talk to you later, guys. Thanks for coming in.